And I hope you are doing well. Welcome to another episode of Relax Riches. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about masculine and feminine receiving patterns in life, in business, with abundance in general. Like, what are some of these blocks and how you can free yourself. And towards the end of this, I'm going to guide you towards a releasing technique when it comes to how you can release those feminine receiving blocks in business or in life, like literal integration. Okay, and this came to me while I was in a call with a client, and that's how this is going to be gold, because it's the exact transition that I have helped my client with, and I was like, this is going to benefit so many more people. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to be talking about is there are masculine and feminine blocks when it comes to receiving, right? So a block that often shows up no matter what you're doing, either you're trying to manifest something, you're trying to build something on your own, you're trying to meet your goals, is this generalized block which is around, I can't really rely on someone to give this to me, or it's more like it's not safe for me to surrender, or it's not safe for me to trust that I can rely for this thing to happen, right? And that generally stems with the first primary masculine that showed up in your life in the form of your caregivers and your parents, wherein you felt like either that masculine figure was not present consistently, or they didn't show up in the way you wanted them to, or maybe they were present but emotionally not there, or for like most people that they knew that they loved them, but it's just that consistently was not provided. So that sense of protection that they were often that you were often looking for was not provided. You always were left to feel like I cannot rely on someone to give this to me. That's a block, because you're not able to surrender, and because, as I said, with that masculine presence, they were not consistently showing up for you. So maybe they were there, and for some of you, unfortunately, they were never really there, so you never really had that sense of being able to surrender. And the feminine feels safe enough to surrender when they feel like there is a container that's holding them, right? And that structure and that container is provided by the first masculine presence in your life. So as I said, if you felt like that container wasn't safe for you to trust that you are being protected, you are being led, you are being provided for in the way, both emotionally, physically, financially. So there is that fear that it's not safe for me to rely, right? And this also shows up in your relationship, especially if it's like a marriage relationship. The way you feel like your partner is showing up for you will be a reflection of because it is all a projection, but it's a direct reflection of you continuing that experience with the masculine that you had all throughout your life, right? So if you felt like it's not safe for me to rely on this person because they have never been consistent, or you feel like your current partner is not like following up with their word, or they're not doing things that way, and you feel like you cannot really rely on them in that way, the patterns or like the threads of this are coming from right when you firstly build that connection or that understanding with the masculine, right? So if that is something that has been there, it hasn't been resolved, you have never really come to that sense of trust with that masculine, as I said, it will be projected onto your current relationship. It will be projected onto how much you're able to rely on your business, or how much you're able to rely on, like, even God to some extent, to give you that sense of protection, or that sense of, yes, I can actually do this, right? So if you have that, then that's like a masculine block that is present, persistent all through your life. That's a masculine receiving pattern. Now coming to, okay, fine, the way you rewire this is by building trust. Firstly, going and doing shadow work around that part of you, right? And building that trust with that part of you, that not in the form of making excuses for their behavior, but like recognizing that this has been a pattern. Like how I just made a reel about this as well. It was like, You acknowledging that that happened and wasn't your fault, that's great. That's, as long as it's there, it's fine. But we cannot hold that as something and be like, this is exactly why this hasn't happened, or this is exactly why this is not possible for me, right? So if you're using your trauma to create excuses for why you are not moving forward, that's where it's time for us to be like extremely like holding self accountability when it comes to this, right? So then you build that trust with yourself that it's safe for me to rely, and I have understood the purpose for which this projection existed in my life, wherein I couldn't rely on the masculine aspect of anything. That every time I felt like it wasn't safe for me to surrender was because I felt like I couldn't rely. And that was one experience that I allowed it to persist. Now I'm choosing to call that energy back, and I am just stepping into a level of trust with myself, wherein it's safe for me to rely. Like the reason I don't give people affirmations, like exact specific affirmations anymore, is because I feel your inner child or the shadow that is protecting your inner child will have the exact words that you need. Like that subconscious, the age that it got stuck on, or the stage at which that protective shadow came over, they will know exactly what you need to tell yourself to release that. So if I give you specific affirmations around this particular area or that particular, I can give that's not the issue. But for it to speak to your subconscious, it has to come through from within you. So while we are doing shadow work with my client, I make note of the things that I can sense or I can see that the protective shadow is saying, or the suppressed shadow is saying, and I'm able to pick out those words, and then I will mirror it back in the form of affirmation for that one specific client, right? This is why I feel like the generalized affirmations like abundance is coming to me, or everything is working for me, everything is easy for me, it doesn't always click with every person out there, is because it is not speaking to your subconscious the way your subconscious even accepts it. Okay, fine. This is not me creating resistance for you, but if you feel like general affirmations don't really do much for you, it is because it is not directly speaking to your subconscious. Like I said, for me, particularly for me to integrate that, or let go of the way this masculine block, like receiving block, was showing up, was for me to speak to my subconscious was, it's safe for me to rely and relax in my abundance right now, right? That felt safe. Like it's safe for me to rely and safe for me to surrender, right? I am no longer relying on this in the way, like the masculine in my life is now capable of providing for me the way I want to be provided for, right? So that's how that spoke to me, which is why I'm always big on doing shadow work and understanding your subconscious and listening to the voices in your head. And this is so much of us training our awareness, training our focus, and consistently being in a state of meditation that allows you to pick up on these shadow whisperings, pick up on these things and navigate how that is showing up and what's the projection of this thing, right? So it's not you constantly, or like sometimes when I show all these things, they'll be like, oh my god, I feel like I am in my head the whole day. That's you training your awareness. And trust me, the more your shadows gain trust in the sovereign version of you, they see that you're operating, you're behaviorally changing as well, the shadow whisperings will stop. They will not, even if they do show up, they will not have the kind of hold that they have on you to create the kind of resistance that they are creating in your life, right? So much of that goes back to you rebuilding that broken self-trust with yourself. So all the times you have betrayed yourself by giving into fear, by giving into shame, by giving into doubt, those shadows kept on splitting and they kept on getting stronger, right? So now when you change your behaviors, when you show up differently in life, these shadow projections will start gaining trust in you, and the fear and the doubt will start giving their power back to you. And sometimes I'm saying all of this and I'm like, I know people who have done this with me can clock in exactly the things that I am saying. And like I trust, let me not put it out there, yes, I trust that anyone who this message is reaching, they're going to completely get what I'm saying. So I want to like overcome this thing. So coming back to the topic that we were talking about, so that was the masculine receiving pattern. The second is the feminine receiving pattern that I often see with most ambitious entrepreneurs. Is this relationship that they have with desires. Okay, and I think when I first understood how this was showing up for me, I could really see in what ways we are making ourselves vulnerable, right? So our relationship with desires, our relationship with dreams, our relationship with our needs, and how much of an audacity we feel like we have, or how much we think we deserve our desires, it's all coming from this exact same block. Okay, so when you are in that headspace of like, if you feel like you have all of these dreams, but on some level it's not safe to have these desires, this receiving pattern often shows up when you felt like the primary caregivers in your life, your parents, or when you were really young, you felt like it wasn't safe for you to have needs, right? And this is not to say, I feel like growing up, our parents were going through so much in their life. This is not me excusing their behavior, but they were going through so many survival things in their life. But as that little child, you couldn't really comprehend, or you didn't really had the intellect to think about what's actually going on for them. So you gave the meaning of them not being able to meet your needs and your desires, and you gave it the meaning that you probably didn't deserve it, because you had to continue to live with those same parents. So you had to excuse their behavior. So you turned it on to yourself. Maybe I wasn't lovable. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe I'm the unlucky one, because of which it's not safe for me to have these needs. Okay, these could be emotional needs, this could be physical needs, this could be you just wanting to have. And like now that I have kids, I can really understand this quite a lot, because I remember when my kids were like in that stage of really needing me, when they were like 2 and 3, and I was giving them my best, but there were times where I wasn't okay up here. I was overwhelmed. I didn't have enough sleep. I was going through a lot in my life, and so I couldn't emotionally respond to them in every way possible, right? So as little versions of ourselves, right? The way I always say, I'm not giving you specific affirmations because I want you to do this work on your own and check what your subconscious is accepting, right? So for me, it was the way I internalized this. Like some people, when I did this with some of my clients, for them it was, I'm not lovable, I don't deserve it, I am a difficult person, I am too much, like it's like I cannot have this. So underneath all of that was, it's not safe for me to have needs and desires, because every time I have needs and desires, I am disappointed. So every time I have needs and desires, my mom responds in this way, or every time I have needs and desires, I am put into more chaos, or whatever that childhood situation might have panned out as. So you have that receiving block, which is, it's not safe for me to have desires and needs, right? For some of us, it goes back to just needs, and for some of us, it goes the extra mile. For some of us, it goes to just having desires, and for some of us, it goes to even needs. Like it's not even safe for me to have needs, right? So an affirmation that came for me, the way I could speak to my subconscious, was, it's safe for me to have needs and desires. Okay. And then it was the another layer to this is the way these desires come to you. You could have a story, or you could have internalized that experience as, these desires don't come to me easily. Like I have to work really hard. I have to earn these desires. I have to perform. I have to like show up in a way that that impresses everyone, and only then I will be able to get this desire. Whether that desire is about getting love, getting respect, being successful, achieving something, feeling accomplished, whatever that desire was, to get that feeling, this is what I have to do. Right? So another layer to that is, it's safe for me to have needs and desires, and then it's safe for me it's safe for me to have needs and desires, and my desires are met with ease my desires are met quickly with A's always. Okay, I might not be saying it exactly that way, but when you do this, you will instantly like be able to get a sense of that. Okay, so the first masculine receiving block was that I mentioned that is blocking so many things and so many desires in your life. The first one was like, it's not safe for me to rely, it's not safe for me to surrender to actually receive this, right? Because that masculine did not show up for you the way you should have. So that's perpetuating in all areas of your life, whether that's your marriage, whether that's your business, in the way you are being provided for. Anything that you feel you are in that receiving energy, but you feel like it's not flowing through that way because you don't feel safe enough that you can rely. So sometimes when your subconscious is not able to verbalize it in that way, that I don't feel safe enough to rely, the way it projects on is by saying things like, this thing is not capable, there's something wrong with my business, there's something wrong with my partner, there's something wrong with this. That's you projecting, because you don't feel safe enough to receive. You will rather, instead of admitting that I don't feel safe enough to rely and trust that I can surrender and receive this thing and have this thing come into my life, you'll project it onto others and be like, this person. And now that you have labeled this business, this partner, something else, this luck, this opportunity as difficult or this or that, it has to play out that role. Okay, that was the first pattern. The second pattern we said was, it's stemming from your feminine, which is, it's not safe for me to have desires. And for some people, it's not safe for me to have needs and to have desires. Okay, and then how those desires come to you. Like I said, it could be the desire to be loved, to be feeling accomplished, to be successful, to be seen, to be recognized, to be respected, any of those desires. The way, like, for me to get, I have to earn, I have to perform, I have to, like, it doesn't come easy, it doesn't come on its own. I have to do something to then make these things come to me. So like I said, the subconsciously, the thing that came to me, okay, was, it's safe for me to have needs and desires. And secondly, the desires I want come to me with A's quickly, always. Okay, when you do this on your own, your subconscious will tell you the exact affirmation, which is why I feel like you don't have to repeat affirmations 10,000 times to rewire your mind. Sometimes a 30-minute shadow integration will be enough, because your shadow will feel safe enough to hand the power back to you, and it will feel safe enough to release itself, so that the resistance that you're carrying around this really dissolves. And that sense of like, I need to put in more effort, I need to put in this, and I need to earn this, like all of that fades, like all of that just dies down, and you will be able to hold that desire with a lot more conviction. Okay, these were the two receiving patterns that I see that is blocking. So as I said, I'll guide you through a very, very short integration around the receiving block, around the feminine receiving block. So for most of us, this block stemmed, like I said, in very young age. For some people, like with my clients, when I do this, for me, it was very young. It was maybe like 1 year or so. Like when I was doing it, like the imagery that I got for that part of me, that suppressed part of me, was just 1. Okay, for some of my clients it was 3, for some of them it was 7. So go with your gut and ask yourself, at what age I felt like it wasn't safe for me to have needs and desires. Okay, and as I said, you don't have to do these meditations or shadow integrations with your eyes closed. If it helps you connect with that part of you, great. You can do it very much the way we are having a conversation, right? So whatever age that comes up for you, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, just go with that. And I want you to like mentally connect with that version of you, almost like you're possessing that little child body, and look at life from that vision. So if you're a little child, then of course, like your field of vision will be you sitting down and like everything looks scary and big and unpredictable and chaotic, and however that's coming for you. Everything looks big and giant and something like you're not able to comprehend. So looking at life through that child perspective, and you're like looking at everything. So that's already creating a lot of stimulation, which allows you to understand that as that little version of me, I did not have good comprehension. I did not have context to everything. And so the meanings that I attached to things was not necessarily true. That itself like completely dissolves it. Okay. So then you felt like it's not safe for you to have needs and desires. What was the experience? Right? I want you to picture the room that's coming for you intuitively. Was it your room? Was it your living hall? Was it were you in a car? Wherever that was, that exact moment where you felt like it's not safe for me to have needs and desires. Are you in front, like who is showing up in that room with you? Is it your dad? Is it your mom? Like who is present with you in that room? Right? And then notice the emotions that little you is feeling. Are they feeling abandoned? Are they feeling frustrated? Are they feeling like they're not lovable? Like what's intuitively coming for you while you are in this little person body and you're going through life, you're looking at life in that way. Okay. Like trust whatever is coming up. Like ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling? What sensation am I feeling as this little person? Right? And become very familiar with this. This is us integrating this suppressed shadow and allowing it to come forward so that we're no longer dismissing her, right? The reason our suppressed shadows don't show up as much as our protective shadows is because, as I said, the protective shadow is keeping them safe. But when you are in touch with your emotions and you gain trust, then you're able to meet the needs of this little version of you. Your protective shadow doesn't have any role anymore. They don't have to create any resistance, right? So as little version of you, understand what is happening in the environment. And then now I want you to understand the meanings that you gave to that particular situation. Okay, you made it mean, maybe that something that came up for you was that I shouldn't have these needs, or that, or you felt like, I'm being too much, like I'm asking for too much, like I'm not lovable, I don't deserve love, or that no one is looking at me. Like, I don't know, like as little child, like what came for you instantly when you felt like your needs were not being met. Okay, I want you to recognize that the meanings that you gave to that situation were not you. That little child is not you anymore, because there is a part of your subconscious that's still stuck in that little person's body and she still feels like it's not safe for her to have desires. Right? Now, I want you to take this memory, keep it in the back of your mind. Okay? I want you to revisit this after you end this life. Either in a meditation, either in a journal, you need to have conversation with her, right? And help her feel safe. How that comes up for you will look very different for different people. Like the way it showed up for me was she wanted to be taken out of that situation. Like for most people it is that. And some cases, for some of my clients, it was, I want to be left alone. Just give me what I need right now and leave me alone. I don't want to be held. I don't want to be trapped. Like for one of my clients, she was like, I want to just crawl around. I don't want anyone to hold me. I'm feeling so trapped. Right? So for me specifically, the way it came up was she wanted to be held. She wanted to be like received in that way. And she wanted to just relax. Okay. So trust however that happens. Like I said, like if we were doing this in a session, we could do it quickly. But if you're doing this on your own, you need to train your focus and you need to be able to be fully present with that version of you so that you can have that dialogue and gain safety with that little version, with that little part of you, and integrate her. Okay? And the next part that I'm going to say, you have to go write that letter, you have to go do that meditation, and then go do this bit, which is again a visualization meditation that you can do on your own. So the way I want you to do this is I want you to see that little version of you. Like, however, it's like visualize her in a space that feels safe for her. Like for me, it was my own room, and I needed that. I needed my mom and my dad to be consistently present with me, wherein my mom was feeding me something. Like I was hungry, and she was feeding me something, and then I pointed to something far away, and then my dad went and got it for me. Okay, so that was my way of rewiring that memory wherein I was left alone. I felt like my needs are too much and it's not safe for me to have needs and desires, and like I was just in this a lot of frustration and agitation and this feeling like I can't have what I want. right? Like it's not safe for me to even want these things because my needs and wants are creating frustration for everybody, right? That was that was the way I rewired it. Okay, so once you go to that meditation and have that conversation with that little girl, gain safety, meet her needs in your meditation, then you rewire that memory by, like I said, visualizing yourself in a way where that little girl feels like her needs and desires are met. Maybe that little girl wanted like a bicycle. Maybe she wanted a toy, or she wanted a bag, or like a small cute kid's bag, or she wanted like to be fed, or she wanted to be like she wanted a hug, she wanted to sleep in her parents' bed, like whatever like her core need was. I want you to rewire that memory with that. Okay, that was the integration bit. Now the embodiment bit comes when you are not just doing this as like a one-time thing here and there, but you are actually, every time you think about your desire, I want you to mentally place yourself in that rewired memory wherein your needs and your desires are met and have been met all through your life. Okay, for some of you who haven't like done like the grounding or who haven't done like the foundational work around most prominent traumas that show up for you, this might be a little bit of like a tug of war. But I want you to mentally revise that situation and keep telling yourself that, yeah, like it's safe for me to have desires. All my desires are met. My desires come to me easily, quickly, always. My desires come to me easily, quickly, and always. Why? The reason why I did not give you just an affirmation is because if we don't go back to rewire the core belief, why you even feel that way, it'll be very hard for you to put up a lot of trust in that new story. So when we do shadow integration work and we build safety, it's easy for us to step into the new story. Does that make sense? So when you do the grounding work, you have a lot of trust and you have revised your past, your present with that new story. It's very easy for you to be like, yes, this is my truth. Like all that I believed back then was from the consciousness of a little child. Okay. And with that, if you get a lot of emotion while you're doing integration or after you've done integration, for some of my clients, they get like intense hit of that emotion after a few hours or after a few days, wherein they are bawling their eyes and they're like messaging me. They're like, Aisha, I was just like watching this movie and I felt a huge release, or I was doing that and I felt a huge release. So it will show up. Okay. And then you gotta embody that belief. It has to be that way. Once you have done the integration, then you have to embody it. You cannot go back to all the old stories and old traumas. If you feel like that's coming up, sit down with yourself again, mentally go back to that shadow version of you and ask yourself, like, what is the resistance? Why am I still going through this? What is something that is keeping me stuck in this? Okay, there's a lot of like self-awareness, but the thing is, when you learn to train your focus this way, train your awareness this way, and continue to do shadow integration in this way, you will be in a constant state of meditation wherein you're not creating life on autopilot based on your limited subconscious beliefs. You'll actively be creating life and seeing experiences based on the things that you actually want, rather than things that on default you're just like, I don't even know why this is happening for me, right? So those were the two blocks. That was the integration that I want you to do. And like I said, none of that works if you're not embodying that day to day, if you're not consistently rewiring that. And the way you do that is by stepping into new belief, giving yourself the evidence. By in this case, how can you give yourself the evidence that my desires come to me easily? The more you consistently hold and back that belief, you will meet with evidence. Like your brain has to give you evidence. Just the way when you're fishing for problems, you will find more problems. The same way, if you are consistently telling yourself, yeah, I like my desires come to me easily and effortlessly, it will unfold. Like I said, like within a few hours. For most of my clients, they will see shifts. Like I said, within a very, very less period of time, because they have rewired it and they have embodied that belief. So they're not going back to all those old stories. Like I said, because they have done the integration, they have built safety with that shadow version of themselves. Okay, and I feel like I spoke so much and I've repeated myself so many times because I feel it's important. It's so important. Like the things that I'm saying are so important. And I want this, like, as you're watching this video, I want this to be embedded in your head and you don't have to think about it. This is even you watching content like this level of advanced content. When you watch, it is automatically rewiring your mind. It is automatically giving you the evidence of your possibility. So everything out there that makes you feel wildly powerful, hold on to that. It could be your favorite coach, it could be like a book that gives you that sense of wild power, because the more you stay in that strength, the more you stay in that oh my god, it's safe for me to be wildly powerful, it's safe for me to do this, like I can have it all, like that is you on a different frequency. Okay, so I hope that this was one of that for you. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the DMs for me. If you want to take this forward, I have a program coming up. It's called Relax Riches, and I have like a different structure to it this time. So if you want to build a life and a business, or you want to scale that business in the easiest way possible, Relax Riches is the place for you. And if you're like, I want to have a 360 all across my life, I want to see abundance, I want to build a very healthy relationship, I want to attract a marriage, or any of that, Sovereignty is the program for you. Currently I have both of these. And if you're like, I don't know, Aisha, like, let's talk about this, I am curious about the shadow work and I want to start with the shadow work around my business, then Money Vortex is the program for you. Any which way, if you are just confused and if you want to know which would be better, just send me a DM. And yeah, I have so many more fun topics to talk about, which I'll be doing next week. Sunday I have another episode that's going to go up, and I will upload all of these videos on YouTube so you can have them when you feel like you need a boost here and there. So yeah, we can do that. Lots of love, and see you in the next episode. Bye.